going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC reality check, here with your February 2nd, 2022 AEW Dynamite review. That almost rhymed. God, guys, we are already in February of 2022. Where is the year going? Where is the world and the ongoing global bastard going? I don't know. What I do know is we got a lot of stuff to talk about on AEW. That was a very, very corny introduction, but here it is. Don't know why my keys are randomly in the wrong place, so don't mind the sound. If you're listening in headphones, sorry about the noise. I want to quickly say to anybody that joined myself and Guapo for the Royal Rumble review, thanks for that. Haven't talked about WWE in a while. Also haven't had Guapo on the channel in quite a while. So that was a lot of fun, basically playing up, here's Guapo who doesn't watch WWE, let's predict a WWE pay-per-view. And let me just say, I'll keep it nice, short, and sweet because this isn't a WWE video. I loved the Royal Rumble. And do you know why? You guys can probably guess why if you've been listening to me for a long enough time. You can probably guess why I loved the Royal Rumble. I loved the Royal Rumble because it pissed off all the right people. And we're going to talk about that in tonight's Dynamite, which is why I bring that up. But I'm sorry, whoever you thought was going to win the Rumble is not a bigger star, a bigger draw, a bigger pack-the-house name than Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey. Yes, I cheered immensely when Naomi got tossed over because she got what was coming to her from a boss that she was incredibly mistreating and in any regular job would have been fired. Yes, I cheered when Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair got thrown over the top rope because the insistence on one of those two winning the Royal Rumble when literally they headlined WrestleMania last year was obnoxious. And the Sailor Moon thing just fuck off entirely. I didn't so much, everybody was insisting on Big E for the Men's Rumble. I didn't so much cheer when Big E went out because I do like Big E. He's going to get his shot again at some point, I'm sure. I don't have anything against Big E. He did great with the belt when he had it. The people that said he got robbed of it, oh my god. But yeah, I didn't so much cheer that he had been eliminated. I just watched Twitter and smiled a whole bunch. And yes, the guy that got so famous for walking on pancakes to get back into the Royal Rumble finally botched a stunt. And yes, we all, except no we don't, cry for Kofi Kingston. Yes, there was a bunch of other people that I would have loved to see get shine. If Ronda Rousey hadn't come back, I would have loved to see the return of Bayley, and Bayley wins the Rumble. I would love to see my girl Shotzi, who no longer has a last name, win the Royal Rumble. I would have loved to see Lita win the Royal Rumble, but we're getting a cool moment with her and Becky at the Elimination Chamber, which is, I'm sure, another thing that will get me in a lot of trouble for saying. But I'm happy Ronda's back. We're building up to this big title versus title thing at WrestleMania, it looks like, which is huge. The tag match was fun, and people are upset that the tag match was just fun. What did you think it was going to be? It was two couples, two superstars that got to work with their wives, two superstars that got to work with their husbands. Two of them are Hall of Famers. They all know each other pretty well, and they had fun. They didn't do the Brood entrance, which was kind of a bummer. But it is what it is, and somebody said it, Miz and Maurice coming out in tribute to Eva Marie as All Red Everything was fantastic. Could have done without the Becky Doudrop match, but we said that in the preview, did we not? Royal Rumble pissed off all the right people, made me really happy. It was a lot of fun. Still up in the air on how I feel about WWE doing, especially their big pay-per-views on the Saturday. Elimination Chamber is also going to be on a Saturday from what I know, and WrestleMania is a different animal entirely because it's a two-night show. But I guess this year will play out to see how the Saturday pay-per-views go. The cool thing about it is a little preview for you guys for later on this month, because I'll be previewing both. If you're watching the Elimination Chamber, if you can overlook the fact that it's happening in Saudi, but it does already kind of look like a cool card just from the two matches we have already, I will be previewing Elimination Chamber. Obviously, I will be previewing No Surrender as well, and those are happening on the same day. You got Elimination Chamber in the day and then No Surrender in the evening, so that's going to be a full day of wrestling for people that watch both shows, for people that can swallow their pride and watch watch the Saudi shows, and for people that are still interested in Impact, we can all be on the lookout for Guapo, because Guapo's a jerk, and he's actually going to be at No Surrender. But yeah, and the other thing we have to mention before we started was advertised literally today on social media by AEW was Jon Moxley versus a debuting Brian Kendrick. And then, I don't know when it was announced, but about an hour before the show, we see on social media that he's been pulled from the show by Tony Khan because apparently sometime in his past he said something naughty on social media. Now, first of all, cancel culture is a cancer to begin with. You guys know how I feel about that. I'm not going to go on about that. But it's especially ironic coming from Tony Khan, of all people, who's a much bigger representative of the company than a debuting Brian Kendrick would be, who has been in social media trouble much, much, much more recently than Brian Kendrick for all the fuckery that he pulled in regards to Big Swole basically telling the world that, oh, it's no big loss, she wasn't really ready, or whatever the hell he said, and then went on in the most problematic way possible to write another tweet that was the equivalent of, I have many black friends, how can I be problematic? So, Tony Khan, buddy, pal, I'm gonna say a bunch of good shit about the show that you gave us tonight, but look in the fucking mirror, you woke tard. Anyways, so what did we get instead as the opening match of the show? Because it did show up with Mox, and it was basically a Mox versus who? And you hear the best friends thing, and you're like, oh, okay, so he's going to face Chuck, he's going to face Trent, he's going to face, it wouldn't be Orange Cassidy, because they didn't play the Orange Cassidy. He's facing Wheeler Yuta, which is fine by me. Wheeler Yuta is sort of somebody that got introduced to AEW, but also just got swept up in the best friends chaos group, so whatever identity he has is sort of as being front of that group. But he also comes out with Orange Cassidy and the debuted last week, Danhausen. Now, I didn't review last week's show because it was a special event, and usually I would preview instead of review a special event. Didn't get around to giving you guys a preview, sorry about that. Danhausen debuted, and they did the what was it? It was the Lights Out match with Cassidy and Cole, wasn't it, when he pulled out the table and Danhausen was on it. Now, I will admit my ignorance 100%, because unlike most people out there in the world, I can actually do that. I have no clue about Danhausen. The first time I ever actually saw Danhausen on my computer screen was when I was watching a Good Mic Work commentary, and I think in his introduction, one of the wrestlers that gives him a shout out is Danhausen, and I know, much like a lot of other people, much like Matt Hardy and the Broken Brilliance, I do get a lot of key indicators from our good buddy Guapo there. But I have no idea what the Danhausen thing is. I don't know what to think about him debuting. I don't know what to think about him being in AEW. I don't know what to think about him being part of the Best Friends along with Orange Cassidy. But then again, I didn't get the Orange Cassidy thing when I first saw it. So I'm very much in that open part of my fandom right now, where it's like, anybody familiar with Danhausen, I'm calling out to you right now. If you see me on Twitter, if you're watching it on YouTube or Rumble and you want to leave me a comment, tell me what the fuck a Danhausen is. I know there's talk about curses and he collects teeth and all these other things, and I know he's like a internet phenomenon, and he's gone through the social media things and he's gotten himself all the way fucking over. Great, awesome. I don't know what the fuck he is, so tell me down in the box below. Not much to say about the match, so there's a few key points I want to pull out just because they're obviously the ones that stuck out to me. Not the most spectacular part of the whole match, but there was a part in the match where Wheeler Yuta went for a suicide dive, and it was caught by Mox. And that's not particularly an out of the realm of possibility sequence, but it was just the way that he caught him like effortlessly and sort of shrugged him off. And I was just like, it's 100%, it's a Moxley thing to do. If that makes any sense. I do want to say that matches like this right now are kind of frustrating for me, because I get that you're doing the slow burn with the returning Moxley. I get that you've got all these people on the undercard that you want to get people more familiar with, that you want to give a lot of shine to and whatever, but it is really hard to get into it 100% when you know that Mox is going to win. Now, it's one of those catch-22 things. You don't want to throw him back into the main event scene, because then he's being like rushed type of thing, and I understand that criticism completely. And I also understand that even though you don't want to push him, you still want him on the show. So the middle ground is to have him fight with some really, really talented, really, really worthy mid-carders, but it is sort of a sludge of, yeah, this is going to be a really good match, and the ending is really predictable, so let's just see how good it is. Moxley also used the X-Plex, and I'm not saying that this is a Pete Dunne thing, but the first person I saw use it was Pete Dunne, and yes, there's bias there because I got to see Pete Dunne a lot when he was the Destiny champion, so I associate the X-Plex with him, so that sort of popped me a little bit. I also love the bully choke. The fact that the bully choke was also something that Brian Kendrick used quite a bit, especially in the Cruiserweight Classic, and he got pulled from this match, made me laugh a whole bunch. Moxley, when he was on the outside, had weird, like, character-building face-offs with both Orange Cassidy and Danhausen. Danhausen doing the hand thing that I don't understand. It's fine. I love the King Kong Lariat. I love the where he just gets him, and I don't want to say the elbow shots, but that particular way that he poses somebody, like when they're down on the mat, he's got them by one arm, and he's holding up that one arm so that he can just give him as many elbow shots to the side of the head as possible. Paradigm Shift gets the obvious win. I will say, I'm not giving Wheeler Yuta the credit that it's due, because this was in no way a squash match. He got his shit in. I like what I see from Wheeler Yuta. I just don't know who he is outside of the Best Friends faction. So I want to give him more credit, but it didn't grab me because obviously the story is Mox. The story is Mox and Danielson, who showed up in the ring like he had fucking teleported after the match with a microphone in his back pocket. The crowd goes fucking crazy. They're in Chicago, by the way. Obviously with Punk MJF being the main event, and holy fuck what a main event that was. I mean, Chicago just in general is a really good fucking crowd, isn't it? And the very first words was a taunt to the crowd, is, do you want to see us fight? And then he went on, and Bryan Danielson is somebody, you guys have seen me on this channel. I've gone from hating Daniel Bryan to sort of coming around on him, to sort of seeing what he can offer, to seeing that he was being underutilized, to watching him break through all the injuries that he had and then transfer over to being Bryan Danielson in AEW. So I've been all over the map as far as being a fan of Bryan Danielson. This promo and the way that he just managed to stick everything together and be conniving and still somewhat truly but falsely genuine at the same time, it was really a thing to watch. It was sort of like watching him cut this promo was kind of like watching a snake. And I know that's going to sound silly, but I'm going to go where it wants to go. He said, for the longest time, I always wanted to face you, I always wanted to test you, and I don't care what anybody else says, you were the best AEW champion so far. But now I see you've come back. You've come back from all these struggles, you've come back better than ever. We shouldn't be fighting, we should fight together. We both should agree that there's no reason for a cowboy cosplayer like Hangman Page to be the champion. And immediately when he said that, I thought it was like, okay, you're going to help me, and the two of us are going to beat the fuck out of Hangman, and one of us can be AEW champion, which would have been pretty shallow. But then he immediately goes on to say, there's no reason a guy in a dinosaur mask should be a tag team champion. Not a word spoken about Jungle Boy, because Jungle Boy is one of the pillars of AEW, so very clever there as well. And there's no reason somebody who's best known for their vlog should be the TNT champion. So now you start getting into, are they going to be the two-man power trip vibes, which I fucking love on principle. It's not going to happen, but in Elseworlds universe, where it does happen, it's fucking great. Put the TNT championship on Bryan, the AEW championship back on Mox, and give them the tag team champions as well. Then whoever tackles one of them for one belt automatically gets over because they've beaten somebody that's a dual champion. Does that make sense? Am I making sense so far? Together we should run this place. Together we should take all the belts. Look at a guy like Wheeler Yuta. Look at the people that we could take under our wing. People we could train. We could make this place in our image. We could take a guy like Wheeler Yuta away from jokes like Orange Cassidy and Danhausen. You could take a guy like Daniel Garcia away from jokes like 2.0, and I'm sure all the What Culture guys are going to chew that up tomorrow morning when they talk about it, so I'm going to leave that one alone. You know, think about the legacy you want to build. Think about what the new Moxley that's just come back, who's now on this tear, wants to do. Think about the greatness we could create. Just think about it. Mic drop. And I'm like, there's so many intricate little things that he's done in that one promo. I was very impressed, if you can't tell, and it was really good. I like devious Daniel Bryan. This is I mean, they made him a heel in WWE, and they did the whole environmental guy, and it was basically him being the environmentalist was like CM Punk doing the straight edge society thing. It was like, let's pick a particular characteristic and build on that. This sort of devious Daniel Bryan, I'm always up to something, but you never know quite what I'm up to, Daniel Bryan finding its footing. The only thing I can compare it to is WWE finally letting Roman Reigns be the heel, be the head of the table, the tribal chief, whatever, and sink his teeth into that. So I think there's a parallel there. I don't know what the direct comparisons would be, but I do think there's a parallel there. And I think this promo was great. And Mox's facial expressions throughout the entire thing, looking at the camera, looking at the audience, having this exaggerated look of, can you believe this guy, on his face, made it 100%. We quickly transition from that to a quick video package on Punk versus MJF, which is happening later on tonight. And then, dear God, somebody up there hates me. Somebody up there hates me. I'll take a couple months more of COVID if I cannot see Brandy Rhodes on my TV. She comes out, she talks some nonsense. She takes some really, really lame pot shots to get the crowd heat from Chicago. And I've never been more happy to see Dan Lambert in my life. He comes out, puts her in her place, and Jesus Christ, I'm going to say it once again. Check it off the Spaz Phoenix bucket list. Me, the Destiny Wrestling fan, Brandy Rhodes is trying so hard for a pop that while insulting Ethan Page, she name drops the reigning, defending, undisputed Destiny World Wrestling Champion Josh Alexander's name, and the crowd tells her to shut the fuck up. And then Paige Van Zant comes out because she's part of American Top Team, and she's going to beat the shit out of Brandy Rhodes, and they have a lame version of a pull apart. Here's the thing. I would love to love this. I would love to love this. I would love to say that I could live through Paige Van Zant and watch her slap around Brandy Rhodes for a while. But A, that's just going to waste a lot of TV time. B, if Paige Van Zant's going to come to AEW and wrestle, I'd love to see her go up against some actual wrestlers. And C, Brandy Rhodes doesn't have heat. This is a thing, and this is a thing that people debate all the time. Proper heel heat to me is MJF. Proper heel heat is, I want to see you get your ass kicked. I want to see you get your ass dragged over the coals for a solid 20 minutes, and I want to enjoy every minute of it. That is proper heel heat. I don't want you on my television, period, is just you're doing something wrong. And everything Dan Lambert said was fucking fantastic. The whole, I'm not going to repeat it here because I'm sure somebody out there that doesn't like me is going to try and get my video flag, but the way he said, what he said about the Rhodes family and the only appropriate face turn from the Rhodes family was absolutely fucking brilliant. Matt Hardy segment in the back. Matt Hardy is now sharing the Hardy family office with Andrade, which is weird. They're upset with Private Party for not winning the tag titles last week on Rampage. Isaiah Cassidy's going to prove himself this week on Rampage. He's going to take on Sammy Guevara for the TNT Championship. And, spoiler, he's going to lose. Moving on. The Kings of the Black Throne taking on Penta and Pac. Now, this is a preview, as far as I'm concerned. Now, we all know what happened to Rey Fenix. We don't know when Rey Fenix is coming back. You can pretty much connect the dots and guarantee that the first major feud for the Kings of the Black Throne was going to be the Lucha Brothers. Now, obviously, we don't have Pac. They have a third member of their faction. Pac substitutes himself in to work with Penta. Sorry. And it is what it is. And we get a fantastic match. You've got Penta, who's awesome. You've got Pac, a.k.a. Neville, who I've been watching in NXT and WWE for a long-ass time. You've got Aleister Black / Malachi Black, who I've liked since he was in NXT. And you've got Brody King, who I've just seen in the past couple of weeks, but in the brief time that I've seen him, I already like what I see. It's almost the tag team match that we want. And there's people out there that are going to twist my words on that and say that I'm taking a dig at Pac. I'm not. I just want to see the proper Lucha Brothers take on Kings of the Black Throne. Or if they get a third member, throw Pac in there, have a trios match. It's fine. The story about Pac getting blinded by Aleister Black is really, really cool. It's really followed up on well because, sorry guys, I'm really dying tonight. Let me take a drink. Because Penta comes out, he makes his entrance, and behind them is Pac, but Pac's got his hand on Alex Abrahantes' shoulders, he's still got his eyes wrapped up. And I'm thinking they're almost going to do like a Daredevil type thing. He's going to fight blindfolded, and we're all going to be amazed by how good he fights blindfolded. He does a couple of moves with the blindfold on, takes it off, big evil smile, and then from there, I hate to be simplistic about it, but you just get the great match that you'd expect. I love the Kings of the Black Throne as a tag team so far. You've got, even though Brody King is also pretty damn fast, you've got the fast guy, you've got the powerhouse, you've got the Ferrari in the tank, as the expression goes. I want them in the tag team title picture yesterday. But unfortunately, the Black Mist to Penta and the Dante's Inferno gets the win for the Kings of the Black Throne, which, as I say, doesn't really hurt my feelings, because in the Triangulo de la Muerte, I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm sure, the tag team of that trio is the Lucha Brothers. So it's acceptable that, that this substitute version of the team would take a loss to this brand new team that's just trying to make their way, etc. We're leaving that for later on down the road when Phoenix comes back. There was a sign in the crowd tonight for Ray Phoenix just saying, you know, get well and all that kind of thing, and I think that's really cool. Adam Cole in the back doing exactly what we want Adam Cole to do, to remind us that lights out matches do not appear on your record, therefore he is undefeated. He's going to face Evil Uno on Rampage, and then you'll know exactly what his sights are set on. And it's like, on the one hand, yeah, the message is being sent through Evil Uno. On the other hand, I would rather see 100 other people fight Adam Cole than Evil Uno. No offense. And on the third hand, because some of us have three hands, we already know what your intentions are. If you are an undefeated main eventer, then your goals are undisputed, sir. Oh yes. Ruby Soho versus Nyla Rose. Made my heart hurt a whole bunch. Great effort from Ruby Soho. Nyla Rose still sucks donkey balls for bus fare and walks anyway. We get a bullshit save at one point from Vicky Guerrero on the outside, and Ruby loses. Again, why they're taking... Not too long ago, I said... I was really, really tired of this narrative that everybody that AEW picks up that used to work for WWE has been saved by AEW. But one of the times where that is absolutely a case would be Ruby Soho. I'm on the verge of taking that idea back because you're using her to put over people that are trash. Jade Cargill is trash. Nyla Rose is trash. I get what Nyla Rose represents to the company, and that I have no problem with. Let me be fucking clear. But she just put over Ryback so that Ryback can be the first ever TBS champion. That's already obnoxious. And now she's put over and she did all the work in this match. I'm sorry, she did. So Ruby Soho is very quickly becoming the Cesaro of AEW, and you hate to see it. You know what else you hate to see? Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus are the brand new exciting tag team champions, and there's 100 other teams that I would love to see them fight rather than the Gun Club or the Ass Boys, which is becoming a thing now. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate a really, really immature throwback joke, like calling them the Ass Boys. But there's 100 other people I would love to see them face, and when the only representation of this feud that we saw tonight was Billy Gunn and his boys throwing Jungle Boy in the snow outside, you gotta do better. You are, and I said this, I'm gonna keep going back to this. When NXT was good, I said they own women's wrestling, and I gave the credit the other way around. I said AEW owns tag team wrestling. If this is what you are doing with your tag team champions and their supposed next contenders, you're gonna lose that spot, in my mind. Either that, or you got to admit that you're doing all kinds of cool tag team wrestling except with your champions, which is a really, really shitty place to be. Hangman comes out to cut a promo. Nothing really happens. He talks about how his kids are making a mess at home and there's all kinds of snow. His plane ride's probably going to be canceled tomorrow, but he's got a Texas death match next week with Lance Archer, which I don't think anybody is excited or intrigued about in the slightest, because even the hardcore AEW fans that I have on my Twitter feed aren't really saying much about this match. But he says, I want something tonight. He calls out Archer for tonight, and Lambert comes out and does more Lambert stuff, and Jake chimes in on the promo, which is fine. Archer breaks through both of them, and they brawl, and there's a chair attack, and he chokeslams him on the side of the steps, and he gives him the I don't know what you call that flipping powerbomb thing that he does. He puts him through a table. This didn't achieve anything. I'm sorry. I liked Lambert earlier on in the night. Jake Roberts, as a promo, brings something to the table that nobody else really does. There's a lot of good parts here. Tony Schiavone conducting the interview is great. Hangman, they better spice him up soon as champion. I don't have anything against the guy, and I know I keep saying this, and it sounds like a handful of backhanded compliments. Hangman's okay. I don't mind Hangman. I think the thing between him and Omega was incredibly overrated, because I think AEW and their fans mistook great long-term storytelling with a story that just took a long time to get there. But I do think Hangman's going to find his feet, but you gotta put him in the ring with people that I give a shit about. We're going to get to... This is the thing, again, it's like what I said about Mox in the first match. Nobody thinks that Lance Archer is going to take the AEW championship off Hangman, because we already know that Hangman's next quote-unquote real opponent is Adam Cole, because we want to do Adam Cole versus Adam Page, probably at the next pay-per-view, which is why Archer's match is happening here. They're really, really trying to shine up a turd with this one, and I don't like that at all. We do a bunch of admin after that. We know that Isaiah Cassidy is taking on Sammy Guevara for the TNT Championship on Rampage. Starks is taking on Jay Lethal on Rampage for the FTW Championship. The Inner Circle are going to have a team meeting next week, and Thunder Rosa is going to take on Mercedes Martinez on Rampage as well as the Hangman Archer thing. I'm looking forward to... I wish they would switch a lot of these around. Do the Inner Circle team meeting on Rampage. Put Thunder Rosa and Martinez, because I love... Both of them are fucking great. Put them on Dynamite. Give them a shining star spot on Dynamite. Prove the naysayers wrong, because sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not, but they get a lot of criticism for their women's division. Basically, the mentality a lot of the time is if you're not carrying a title, you don't get TV time. Give Thunder Rosa and Martinez 20 minutes on Dynamite. Like, start nipping that narrative in the bud. I think you could do it. I think pushing this to Rampage doesn't help your case as far as the people that are hating on the women's division in AEW. And then we got Punk versus MJF, which was, god damn it, like 45 minutes long or some shit. When they announced, okay, upcoming next is our main event, and I looked at my clock. Now, granted, I watch TV on a bit of a delay, so I could be wrong in my timing here. But I looked at my clock, and it was only like 9:15 when they said, upcoming next, our main event, Punk versus MJF. I was like, what? But these guys... Like, if you guys couldn't tell, I'm already a fan of Punk. I was a fan of Punk the entire time he was in WWE. I've sort of followed what he was doing after he left WWE. I watched his UFC fights, and yeah, they were what they were. MJF, if he tries really hard one day, can be The Miz. It's fine. I noticed a bunch of odd things in this match, too. I noticed a lot of signs. I noticed a lot of the crowd reaction, because Jesus goddamn Christ, it's silly to even mention it anymore. But CM Punk in Chicago is electricity. You could have sold this show. You could have sold tickets to this show and just told them, here, buy this ticket, and all you're getting is Punk versus MJF. They would still have sold out the building, I think. But it's like... It's the kind of reaction, and we all do it. We all go back to that pop at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view 2011. But it's the same here, and I'm pretty sure it's a smaller venue. Somebody can correct me down in the box below if I'm wrong. But it's a much smaller venue. But it's still, even through the TV, it feels like the building is shaking anytime Punk does anything. There's a part in this match where he just lifts up MJF and slams him, and everybody cheers. And he sort of looks at the crowd and says, "Should I do it again?" And he does it again, and they go louder. "Should I do it again?" And they go louder, and they do it again. And just, if you want to see a conductor, like we talk about The Rock cutting promos and having the crowd in the palm of his hand because he can get them to chant Cookie Puss if he wants to. You want to see somebody conduct a crowd in the middle of a match without a mic, go back and watch this match. Now, the Chicago crowd is also very willing to be conducted by CM Punk, so there's a very symbiotic relationship there. No references to Venom. But when the match was just starting, I noticed a Restore the Snyderverse sign near the front row on the hard camera side, which I thought was hilarious. Once they brawled up into the crowd, there was a sign that says, "If MJF wins, we jump him," which is great. Considering later on in the match, I think Punk tried to lock in the STF. Nice little Cena reference there, and a nice little Cena reference on the sign. It's good. Randomly, in the middle of the match, when they were done brawling in the crowd, when they got back into the ring, there was an extended period of time where CM Punk's arm became the story. Now, he suffered some kind of fall or some kind of injury to his arm that started off that story. I must have looked away for a second. I must have been taking a note or something like that. I don't know what the initial injury was when his arm started becoming the story, but the chants in the crowd slowly shifted from CM Punk to New York sucks, which I thought was really, really great. At one point, they were cheering for a place called CC's Pizza, which I thought was really hilarious. Then we got to what I thought was a fucking brilliant spot by MJF. It's a pretty common thing in wrestling when you've got the referee distracted either by somebody else on the outside or your manager or whatever. You undo a bit of your wrist tape, you choke them for a couple of seconds, and as soon as the referee turns around, you sort of toss the tape away, and the damage has been done, and the match sort of continues. MJF wrapped the tape around Punk's neck and then covered it with a sleeper, so he never had to, or a sleeper or some kind of choke. Somebody's going to correct me, that's fine. But so he was continuously being choked out by the tape with the sleeper on around to cover it, to the point that MJF got the chokeout win on CM Punk in Chicago and got all the heat that you would expect. But then when he gets up to celebrate, the tape is sitting there on the ground. The referee freaks out. I think it was Remsburg. I could be wrong. I didn't write it down, I'm not going to lie. CM Punk is out on the ground because he's been choked out, clearly, with no referee stopping him and no opponent getting rid of the tape because they think the referee's going to stop them. Great little bit of story, like a little twist on an old wrestling cliche is always good. When he shakes it off, he sort of comes to, he realizes the match has started again. He comes in with a couple of big flurries. His arm's hurting him. His leg is now hurting him because at some point he was chop blocked that I also missed. But he gets, with all the adrenaline he can muster, he gets MJF into the corner where you would normally do the corner 10 punch. But because it's CM Punk and because he's feeding off Chicago like it's fucking oxygen, he does a corner 20 count instead for reasons. It's fine. But he does, and I really want to stop and make a note of this, because CM Punk is selling in the match, obviously, but he's doing a sell that's different from anything that I've tried to describe before, so I'm going to try and describe it and probably fail. He's selling one bad leg, he's selling one bad arm, and he's selling that he's very, very tired from the match, but he's also selling a separate thing where he's been out, and he's waking up, and he's, like, different from being tired. He's selling this, like, this grogginess, this, like, I don't know where this coming back from not really knowing where he is thing. And I don't want to say this lightly because it is CM Punk and he is the straight edge guy and whatever, but it is a sort of being drunk. Like, he was unconscious. The air was cut from his head. And that's different than just selling being tired from a long match. And I think it was phenomenal because he was rubber at some point in the match after this, but I don't know what to call it. I don't know how to refer to it, and I'm coughing a lot. I really do apologize for anybody using headphones. But it was really good, and it was a really different kind of selling that stuck out sort of for the rest of the match. MJF, wanting to get the best of everything, knowing that there's one bad arm and one bad leg, locks him in a Texas cloverleaf, but a Texas cloverleaf that also hammerlocked the arm. I really, really did like that. I thought it was good, and it lasted for quite a while. An absolute last shot desperation poison rana by Punk was fucking beautiful. A series of chop blocks and a low blow by MJF just prove what a kind of person MJF is. Both men are in the corner, and both men exchange bites. What did I just write down in my notes? Both men exchange bites. And then we get, from the second rope, what was described on commentary and by a lot of people on Twitter as something that I've never seen before, only heard about, which is the Pepsi Plunge. And if this is the Pepsi Plunge that I've been hearing about for years and years and years, oh, you didn't see him on the indies, then you don't really know CM Punk, you don't know what Pepsi Plunge is, it's the fucking pedigree. It's the fucking pedigree. So, while Cody Rhodes is sort of edging and hinting at the pedigree with the Tiger Driver 98. Punk just did a pedigree. I don't care. You can call it whatever you want. He did the fucking pedigree. So good for him. It's good. Wardlow comes out, steps over the dead body of MJF, does nothing, stares down CM Punk, and CM Punk gets back into the ring, still looking at Wardlow to see if Wardlow does something, not knowing that Wardlow has passed the ring to MJF, who knocks him out with the ring off the distraction and pins him for a victory. And the heat comes twice. How do you get heat on MJF? Have him beat CM Punk in Chicago twice. Have him cheat to beat CM Punk twice in Chicago. This was magic. This was, I won't lie to you. I will not lie to you and say that, oh my god, this is the best match I ever seen. This is storytelling magic. As I said before, the overrated feud that I thought there was between Omega and Hangman that just dragged on forever, and then we had to make an excuse. We had to write him out because he was going home to do the family thing. Good for him. He went and did the family thing. Not shitting on that. The feud just went on forever, and we disguised it as long-term storytelling. I'm sorry, I'm going to say something kind of controversial here. Might surprise you guys. There was more storytelling in this match than I have seen from AEW between Hangman Page and Omega in the entire time that AEW has given us Hangman Page and Omega. Give one of these guys a shot at Hangman. Give both of these guys a shot at Hangman. Now, Bryan Danielson is next on Mox's radar, so that's fine. So you've got Adam Cole waiting in the wings. You've got MJF, who's got to be next in line after that. And you've got CM Punk, who doesn't get damaged by this whatsoever. But you got what you wanted, and you got it twice. My hat is off to AEW. Everything I said about Tony Khan at the beginning of this podcast episode still stands. But as far as this main event goes, my hat is absolutely off to the people who planned out this match, the people who booked this match, the people who obviously performed in this match, and anybody else involved in this match. Because by God, you got what you wanted, and you got it twice. We cheated to beat CM Punk. We restarted the match. We drove the match to nearly 45-50 minutes. And you cheated to beat CM Punk again. And you did it in Chicago. That's fucking beautiful. And to end off the show with MJF cross-legged in the center of the ring, proclaiming himself the new best in the world. There's a lot that I can criticize in AEW. But when they get it right, they get it fucking right. And tonight, they got it fucking right. Let me know what you guys think down in the box below. Let me know what you think about the Kendrick thing. If you have some thoughts you want to share about the Royal Rumble, go ahead and share them down in the box below as well. Hoping to get Guapo back for a couple more videos in the next couple of weeks, but he's a busier guy than I am, so we gotta do what life lets us do. But for now, I've been Spaz, your AEW, I guess, reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, take a wild guess. I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.